All right, folks, something different for you today. Some of you will certainly know, some of you won't. I do a Premier League podcast with Jack, Proudy and Keno. You'll hear them in just a moment. We do it each week, covering the Premier League action. We try and take a sort of a light-hearted look at it. Today, we focus on our predictions, as well as obviously the weekend's action. We also are working with Predictor. If you've not seen Predictor before, basically, you may have seen some other ForTheFans YouTubers talk about it. There's a prediction league. You predict the Premier League results for the upcoming weekend, and then you can get prizes based on the scores that you predict, essentially. So if you're right, you've got the leaderboard, and there's prizes on offer for August and September. It's free to sign up for the first 2 months, so there's a link in the description. Get involved by all means. And this podcast won't be on this channel every single week. It'll be on ForTheFansShow, youtube.com/ForTheFansShow. Links to everything in the description. It's always on iTunes first. We're also on Twitter as well. So if you are interested in hearing my thoughts on real football rather than just Football Manager, then that is the place for you to check it out. And hopefully you'll be with us throughout the season. We've been doing it for a few years now, and it's one of my favourite things I do. I'm very proud of it, and I'm hoping that some of you guys that watch this channel will head on over and enjoy it as well, and get involved throughout the season, sending in emails and all sorts. So if you want to see more and listen to the show, it's coming up right now with Love With Care from Minute to Benji. Normal service will be resumed throughout the week, but yeah, enjoy. Don't forget, folks, the football has started, but the fantasy football continues. There's a link in the description. Get involved. Take us on. Jack had a good opening week. I don't know, I mentioned it in today's show. Listeners, welcome back. It's ForTheFansShow, and it's a new season, boys. A new Premier League season. That's what I want to hear. We definitely didn't rehearse that. As ever, I am joined by two friends today. Proud to be back later on in the season. But first of all, let me introduce you to Jack. Work the space on YouTube. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm excited for the Premier League to be back. You know, I was sat thinking on Sunday, what was I doing with all these hours in my afternoons, like, over the last few months?
We'll stop that conversation there. I'm also joined by Callum Keane, better known as Keno. Keno, it's good to have you back. Welcome.
Yeah, I was enjoying football until Villa started playing.
At that point,
now I don't enjoy football.
Was this season, or like just in your life?
Well, you know, question. Like over summer, there's quite, you know, the optimism builds, doesn't it? And now it's.
At what point did the regret set in as being a Villa fan? Was it halfway through last season? Was it when O'Neill left? Was it?
It's approaching 10 years ago.
Well, we'll do an anniversary special.
As few as 10.
We'll do an anniversary special. Now, later on in the show.
There are kids who have grown up, you know, like, if you were born in 2007, you've never known anything but...
Kids that are born now won't even have heard of Aston Villa. That's the pity of that. Later on in the show, we'll be talking about our Predictor predictions. Also, we're now sort of sponsored, I guess, by Predictor. Thank you to them. We'll be talking about our predictions for the upcoming weekend's fixtures at the end of the show. But first of all, let's, boys, make our own predictions. The ForTheFans predictions. We'll get Proudy's, and we'll make him say those at some point in the upcoming show. But first of all, then, gentlemen, we've got a list of around sort of 10, 11 things, and also in the comment section on YouTube, on Twitter as well. Feel free to send these in to us, or email have we got an email address? That's a good point, actually.
ForTheFansShow@gmail.com.
ForTheFansShow@gmail.com. Email in your predictions if you like, and we'll read some of the best ones out, as well as any thoughts or stories that you want to send.
We are going on record at the beginning of the season, so you can all make fun of us in 9 months' time.
Well, these are horrendously wrong. We can be mocked for them, but when they're correct, we shall gloat until, like Jack has done over his fantasy football team. We'll start with that, Jack.
Can we talk about that?
You're doing well.
24th in the UK. I'm doing well. Very, very well. I don't think I've ever done this well in a game week. So to do it in the first game week, like, it makes me look like I know what I'm doing.
Well, just to say that again, where are you in the world?
Well, I'm 196th in the world, but 24th in the UK.
And more importantly, Jack, top of For the Fantasy.
Well, that is the thing. The For the Fantasy League, I am top of, and I now feel like it's my civic duty for us, like, to represent the cast of the podcast.
If you've not joined our league, get on it. It's just For the Fantasy.
Yeah, try and beat Jack. We need as many people as possible.
Code in the description of the podcast and the video.
Yeah, it's also on Twitter as well. You'll find it somewhere, folks. Also shout out to Jason Flynn and Matthew Curtis, who are chasing you. All of you got 100 points this week. Jack, you got 113 though, if people are wondering.
We should start shouting out the guys who are leading, you know, as we go along.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll try and do that consistently throughout the show. Right then, boys, it is now over to our prediction. The one I've put at the top of the list will actually come to at the end. You know what I mean, no one else does. But let's start then. Who do we all think will win the Premier League? Jack, we're going to start with you.
Chelsea.
Wow. Did you make that prediction? I should say, we've obviously seen the first weekend's fixtures. Not the best time for Chelsea. We'll talk about that in a moment. You're going Chelsea, Jack. Quick reason why.
Because in a year's time, when they're doing the Premier League years, it's going to start off with... And Conte decided to change all his tactics after a drubbing in the first game of the season against Burnley. And we all know they went on to win the league. It's just... I want
us all to remember Jack's prediction throughout the season. Keno, we'll come to you. Of course, famously last year, you predicted Chelsea to win the league, and you were correct. Are you backing them again this season?
I am not. I am backing Pep Guardiola's Manchester City to win the Premier League in 2017-18.
I will just come in now, Keno, and say, so am I. I also think that Guardiola's City are going to...
Why do you want Manchester City? Why do you think Manchester City will win the league?
Why or when?
Well, let's do when.
What do you mean?
Why not both?
In which case, I think they'll win it because they've got literally the best squad. I feel like by a bit of a distance. I think Guardiola's now got the team he wants. Fullback's very good. I've got to say, I think their keeper, I think Ederson looks pretty good as well. Ederson, is that you say Ederson?
Yeah.
Looks really, really good. I just think across the board, if they keep company fit all year, I know we say it every season, and he never pans out quite like that, but I think they'll have a real chance. I also think we'll see them do some quite exciting things in the Champions League as well. But time will tell. Right, so Chelsea, City. Again, leave your thoughts with us. Runners up then, Jack. We're going to come back to you because after the Chelsea prediction, I'm excited to hear it.
United. It's a bit boring again now.
United.
Sorry.
That's fair enough. You think they've got enough to not quite win it, but be challenging?
I'll say now mine's United as well.
So is mine. So there we are. We've all gone for runners up. Manchester United.
It's going to happen then, isn't it?
Yeah, basically confirmed.
I agree with that. I think United have got. I think we probably all agree have got some very good signings, and I think Mourinho. I think we saw it at the weekend. Again, we'll come on to this, but we said last year that Mourinho used to counter-strat teams. We saw against West Ham. They're going at teams this year. And I think, especially at Old Trafford, that for United fans especially, it's going to be quite exciting. So
there was a way that we won't talk about the game, but there was a way that they kind of had that aura back, and West Ham you could see in the way that their body language was.
Yeah,
that they knew it.
They looked scared.
They looked ominous.
Right, let's complete the top four then. Of course, it's much more difficult these days than it ever used to be. Jack, who rounds off your top four? So you've got Chelsea, Manchester United,
Tottenham Hotspur,
and
Liverpool.
So interestingly, you think City aren't getting in the top four?
I think so.
That's the talk of the town for me. You don't think City will get into the top four this season?
As you say, Ben, I think with every prediction this year, pretty much on the top four, 7 doesn't go into 4. So someone will always look an idiot. Like there'll be one team which.
I mean, it sounds like you're saving face now for when City finish 6th.
So are you saying they'll finish 6th, or are you saying
no?
5th?
No, I think they'll finish 5th.
So who's missing out for you? Just to clarify, who's missing out from the top 4 for you there?
Arsenal and City.
Arsenal and City. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll come on to our thoughts on the teams later on. Keno, over to you. You've got City, United.
I have, as you know, a long time banger at the Spurs drum, so I've got them to finish 3rd.
Spurs in 3rd, and
probably the best first 11 in the league, maybe, but not the squad. So I think that will make them suffer in the title race. And I think now it is difficult because we've seen this weekend, but I have a feeling that Arsenal are going to just put together enough consistent results against teams below them, not necessarily teams around them, to get them into that top 4. So I think Spurs and Arsenal. So City, United, Spurs, Arsenal will be my top 4.
Interesting. I don't have the same as either of those, so this is interesting. We've all got different ones. I think City, United, I then have Arsenal in at 3rd. Some people might be quite surprised by that. And then Spurs round out my top 4.
That's the same as mine.
I think. Did you have Arsenal? But you had Spurs then Arsenal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, there you are. Well, there's a big difference there, you know. I think people in North London will tell you that. Very big difference between the two. I think Liverpool and Chelsea, as much like you actually think the same. You think Liverpool and Chelsea won't get in. Isn't that interesting? I would have said that pre this weekend. I just want to clarify. I just think, based on what we've seen recently with Coutinho, I think Chelsea's squad is too thin. Again, we'll come on to this later on, but I think the squad is too thin. So all different there. Interesting. Very interesting. Again, leave your suggestions or comments in the area to do so. Relegated teams, and 3 teams. Let's just rapidly fire these off because we've got no idea. So, Jack.
Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham.
Newcastle and West Ham. Wow, that's actually... I want to rattle through that, but that's...
Brave.
Really? You think West Ham, Newcastle, and... Who was it, sorry?
Brighton.
Brighton.
Now, West Ham, I'm going to be honest, when we were discussing things last show, we bigged them up.
I did big them up, yeah.
I went and I thought about it a little bit, And
you went away and thought, Jack.
And then I decided, right, fantasy football, I'm taking it seriously. I'm going to go on the West. No,
Jack,
hear me out here.
Jack, when you went away and thought about it, was it on Sunday at 4:00?
No, because the thing is, fantasy football, I was thinking, do I want to play Chicharito in my side? I thought, I'll go and check the West Ham forums. So I went on 3 or 4 different West Ham. This is how seriously I take fantasy football. I like to get predicted starting 11s and get fan perspectives. So many West Ham fans seem genuinely petrified about their hopes this year, especially with players like Lanzini missing to open the season.
Really?
And it made me panic for them, so that's why they're on the list. I'm sorry. I was influenced by the West Ham fans themselves.
Newcastle as well. Interesting. Okay, Keno?
I'm going to stick quite roughly to what I said in the previous shows. I think top of the league, Huddersfield will tumble to the bottom 3 and also go down with Brighton. There's still 2, I think, that I just feel won't have the legs over the whole season. And then the third one was really difficult for me.
Was it?
And, yeah, I think...
Do you want to start with it, or are you going to be able to do it
guys,
on your own?
Well, I listened to Jack, and he said Newcastle, so... I haven't just said Newcastle because you said it, but as I'll kind of outline in a bit, I worry for Newcastle because of the stability at the club or lack of it right now.
Wow, okay. I think it'll be, to sort of go with you guys, I think Brighton will go down. I just think Chris Hughton is, while he's an okay manager, I don't necessarily think tactically he'll have enough against a lot of the Premier League big boys, aside from sitting back defensively and trying to counter. And I think against a lot of Premier League sides now that focus on attacking football, Brighton will really become unstuck from that. So I worry a little bit for Brighton in that respect. But I still think Huddersfield have got a little bit more going forward. Burnley, I think, will go down squad-wise. I think they've got a problem. Michael Keane and Andre Gray gone. I mean,
it was very close between me for Burnley and Newcastle.
I know they beat Chelsea, but I think this might be the highlight of their season. Much like when Villa beat Bournemouth years ago.
Rudy Gestede. Never forget.
A highlight. And then my third one is Crystal Palace, who
scarily good.
Who I think
scary.
I actually think the appointment of De Boer is quite good, but it's a bit of a mentality thing for me. I think Palace players know that they're not expecting to get into Europe or anything, so it's a bit like, what are we playing for? And I always think that's a very dangerous mindset to have. If you don't necessarily think you'll be in a relegation battle, but you equally don't think that your squad's good enough to get into Europe, which I dare say Palace are in that boat at the moment, then I think there's going to be a bit of a testing time.
It can easily drift, can't it?
Yeah, and all of a sudden you're in a relegation battle and you then can't get out of it. And we've seen teams do that in recent years, and I think Palace might be that team. Very quickly, we'll go through overachiever and underachiever. So, Jack, overachiever?
Huddersfield Town, top half.
Wow. Keno?
Everton will break into the top 6. And
wow.
Which, considering the kind of financial gap, is a big overachiever.
We will talk about that. I've gone with Swansea. I think Swansea will be 10th, maybe.
For quickly on that, it was really. I was really thinking about all the mid-table teams that we mentioned in the previous shows. It's really almost impossible to kind of come up with a team that would really be considered overachieving when it's so.
So hard to overachieve. Yeah.
Which was why I kind of thought Everton, because I think they'll maybe get European football properly this year, which would represent a massive achievement, I think. Interesting.
You and Glenn Hoddle agree then? That you think Everton can get in there? Underachiever, quickly, Jack.
West Ham said they. I think they'll get relegated.
I think they would probably consider that underachievement at London Stadium. Kino?
Chelsea if they lose top 4, or Newcastle for going down.
Okay, so interestingly, who out of the top 6, because you just said Everton could break in, who out of the top 6 don't you think will stay in the top 6?
I think it's potentially Liverpool or Chelsea. Okay. I'm not really sure which one.
Yeah.
But
basically your top 4, it has to be one of them, so I was interested to see which way you're going to go. Yeah. I've gone with Southampton. I think Southampton will have a tricky season this year. Got a horrible feeling. I said it last year as well, Saints fans, and I was completely wrong, so maybe this is a good thing for you. Right, now we get into the real crux of it. Player of the year. This is a difficult one to predict, but we're going with it anyway. All right, Jack, last year it was Kante. None of us said it.
Lukaku.
Straight in with Lukaku. All right, it kind of explains itself.
I feel like, if you get a player that's maybe on the short list, you've done pretty well.
All right, Kino?
Mine is Kevin De Bruyne.
Interesting.
I think this is the year that he goes to that next level.
I have 3, because what I was going to do is, if either of you said by 1, I was going to change my mind. Kevin De Bruyne was in my 3.
Yeah.
As was Coutinho before this last week. But who I'm actually going to go with is Henrik Mkhitaryan, who I think in this Manchester United team
Kind of similar to De Bruyne in terms of
will surprise a lot of people. I think if City win the league and De Bruyne is a key part of that, then I think you'll probably be right with De Bruyne. But I think Mkhitaryan will surprise a lot of people this year. And while everyone's looking at Pogba, everyone's looking at Lukaku, I think very quietly Mkhitaryan will have a really good year. So.
I think in a similar vein, with Silva aging slightly and City with the attacking options, De Bruyne will just be sitting in the middle of all of that, pulling the strings.
Yeah.
And he'll pick up bags of assists.
Yeah, seems to be playing a little bit deeper as well in that City side. So.
I think that suits him as well because he likes to drive from deep. He's got that sort of power and directness.
Yeah. Very quickly then, Manager of the Year, Jack.
Conte.
I love that. Chelsea fans can't believe what they're hearing. This is very bold from you.
Jack's gone full 180 from...
I think Chelsea are going to just go mental in the last 3 weeks of the window.
So you think they're going to... You're basing all of this upon them buying?
Yes.
If they don't, I'm also 3 weeks' time, listeners, when we do the September show. I'm fascinated to see what Jack thinks at that stage.
Can I amend my predictions at that point? Is that allowed?
No, absolutely not. Well, I know in fantasy football, Jack, you can use your sort of bench boost. There's no special items you can use in this prediction game.
That's a shame.
Keno, Manager of the Year?
I mean, I'll have to say Pep. If City win the league, he'll definitely win it, I think. So yeah, Pep, maybe Koeman if they do.
I'm going with Pep as well. I think this will be, I say, City's year. Pep is their manager. Add 2 and 2 together. First sacked, Jack.
Bilic.
You the anti-West Ham vibe, the pro-Chelsea thing you've got going on.
Jack picks his teams each season, doesn't he, just to lay into.
Yeah,
this year
it's West Ham.
I mean, Everton have had their year last year. So, new target acquired.
I always want to know when Chelsea and West Ham meet, Jack, because there's going to be nobody more interested than you in that fixture. That's what I look forward to. Okay, Keno?
Steve Bruce. No,
very good. I was thinking, hang on, who's he? Oh, yes, he is manager of the Villa, right.
No, it's going to be, it depends what you consider being sacked, because I think the first to leave will be Rafa Benitez.
I think... that's interesting, actually. First to leave is kind of the thing, yeah.
Yeah, the way we spoke, I mean, it's a lot has changed since we mentioned them in the preview shows last week, hasn't it, really? Because all this kind of, I mean, he made it clear he was quite unhappy with Mike Ashley in sort of throughout pre-season, but it's kind of come to a head over the weekend, and it looks as though that doesn't look stable, particularly if their results aren't great, and I think he could potentially walk out. But if not him, I'm going to go with Jack and maybe say Bilic could be.
Hang on.
Right, we can't all be added to West Ham. Pick your own team to hate on.
You can't be.
Q-less. Hashtag WBA.
He's just got a new contract.
Hashtag WBA, by the way, sweeping the nation.
We'll get to that at the end.
We'll get to that later on. I think it'll be Mark Hughes. Stoke did not have a particularly good year last year, and I think.
To be fair, with the manager ones, there are so many that are tenuous at best.
Yeah, I think if you start badly now, there's that idea that if you change, you'll survive, because we've seen it. We've seen it a lot, that if you change your manager, the earlier you change it, the earlier you might be able to change it again. Swansea.
Particularly in the last few years.
Look at Swansea last year. Started at 3 managers and stayed up. So it's a dangerous time for Premier League managers.
I think sort of like in recent years, that idea of like a specialist relegation firefighter manager has sort of emerged.
Yeah. Sam Allardyce is sat on a beach somewhere at the moment and going, I'll be in October, boys. Call me in October. I'll be there. Okay, so there we are then. Jack, who did you go with again? But Bilic. Kino, you went with?
Benitez.
I'm going Mark Hughes. Top goal scorer, Jack.
Lukaku.
He doesn't play for Chelsea.
I know, well, I have to curb my Chelsea agenda somewhere.
Do you think, can I just say, you've been quite anti-Morata, I feel. Do you think Morata's going to have a good year then?
I actually think Mitchie might be spring some surprises for people.
All right, okay, fair enough. Kino?
Lukaku.
How boring is this?
I know.
So I've also said Lukaku. Shall we have a surprise contender each? Because we're all saying Lukaku. Surprise contender each. Jack, go on then. Surprise contender.
Oh, gosh. You put me on the spot
Wayne Rooney. Remember the name.
I will go with Mooney of Huddersfield. I've said they'll get top half. I think he could get 15.
Yeah,
no, that might not make him top goal. But you asked for a name, so I've given you one.
Kino, have you got a surprise name?
I've absolutely no idea.
Brilliant, thanks, Kino.
At least I gave a name. It was a Huddersfield player, but I tried.
Charlie Austin.
Excellent.
That was the first one that popped in my head, but he's not starting ahead of Gabbiadini at the moment. So
I think we'll see a good year out of Vardy again. I got a feeling Vardy might add sort of 15, 20.
Now you've said that, Ben, I am on board with that.
Got 2 against Arsenal, did he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we season on, season off, Jamie Vardy goes by. So I think we'll see a good season out of him. And this one I find to be I'm fascinated by this one, Jack. Top assist makers.
Salah.
Good choice.
All right. Yeah, I can see why you might say that.
I feel like with the assist makers, it's a little bit of a stab in the dark, really.
Whereas the top goal scorer, it's a guarantee. Yeah.
Well, I just think with assists, like there's a lot more variables that play into it. Whereas with a goal scorer,
that's fair.
You kind of know who's going to get the goals for certain teams.
All right, you've gone with Mohamed Salah of Liverpool, Callum Keane.
It's going to be Kevin De Bruyne, isn't it?
You think De Bruyne will be top of you? Obviously, you think he'll be player of the year, so you think he'll.
I think he'll make the most assists.
Did
he make the most assists last year? Possibly.
I don't know. There's quite a lot last year, I think. I'm not sure who topped it, though. There's a few other players quite close. I'm going to go with, and this won't surprise you now, I'm going to go with Henrik Mkhitaryan. I think having Lukaku top goal scorer, Mkhitaryan.
One assist last year?
Well, I think he'll get, shall I say now, 16. I think he'll get this year.
16, a bit bold.
It's a lot of assists, 16, but I think we saw it at the Bundesliga. I think if Mourinho sticks with him throughout the season, and that's the thing for me, is whether he does or not.
Yeah.
But I think he's a fantastic player, and I think in the right system. I think this is it, actually. With Lukaku, where he is, with Pogba in behind, with a winger on either side as well, I just think he's going to have a really good year.
Last year, for context, De Bruyne was 3 clear of Eriksen. He had 18 assists.
Wow, so he did have the most last year, De Bruyne.
Eriksen was second with 15. Gylfi Sigurdsson, Fabregas, Sanchez, normal suspect.
Yeah,
but
it's interesting actually because I've gone with Lukaku and Mkhitaryan, but I do think City will win the league. I just think City will have a really good team this year and not have not that many individuals. Although I do kind of agree. I think De Bruyne might be their shining star. That then wraps up our predictions, and after this short break, we will get
except one. No, there's one. Oh no, sorry. One.
Yes, the most important one. There is a World Cup ahead of us. Thank you, Jack. I apologise, everyone. There is a World Cup at the end of the season. We will of course be covering it. But this is probably the best prediction of them all. Who is our unlikely England call-up? Now, I think this has to be someone with maybe 1 cap maximum. Not very many, at least.
Don't worry.
Well, no, John Terry's got a lot, Keno, so I'm not sure you can choose John Terry. But no, unlikely England call-up, and we're going to go, probably a Chelsea player, Jack.
Charlie, no, it's not Charlie. I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm sorry, Charlie.
I liked
it. You dropped that really
well. It's a more odd one than that. Ryan Shawcross. I think he's going to have a good season for Stoke alongside Zuma. I think a few injuries. Ryan Shawcross finds his way in, age 29.
Not only has he said, this is why we think Jack's fantasy football has been a fluke, everyone. Yeah. Because he's gone with Chelsea across the board, and now he's gone with Ryan Shawcross. I
mean, someone's going to be. I just think Ryan Shawcross is a very underappreciated English centre-back.
Listeners across the country, Jack, are just shaking their heads.
Can we make sure every time Shawcross concedes a goal, can people tweet at Jack #Shawcross?
Yes. Please. At work that space.
At work that space. He got that handle at last. Keno, unlikely England call-up.
Mine's quite good as well. As much as I slag him off, Glenn Murray will be in typical England fashion.
This is outrageous. I mean,
that's worse than mine. I'm sorry, I'm not having that.
Ricky Lambert will blaze the trail for Glenn Murray. He'll get 10 goals. Marcus Rashford will get injured. He'll do his metatarsal. Glenn Murray will be the backup striker. He'll get a call-up. It'll happen. This
is a madness. It is a madness. Don't tell me it's not. Glenn Murray. Traditionally, strikers like Glenn Murray have never got in. I'm talking like Deeney never got in. Lambert never really got in.
Maybe Deeney. One of them two.
Like we've seen it before. If Andy Carroll doesn't get in, Glenn Murray ain't getting in. Right, mine, I don't know if that's surprising. I will say he's never been capped at England under 21 level or national level. So is that considered unlikely call-up?
Okay, I'm just getting ready to laugh at yours as well.
Mine is, well, you'll feel foolish in a minute. Mine is Trent Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool, who I think will have a better season than Nathaniel Klein and will be England's second choice defender, probably after Kyle Walker at right back. And we'll get a call up to the World Cup squad. What we're saying is, folks, they'll get in the 23, not the 30. So if you want to change Murray and Shawcross now, you're more than welcome to. But I'm going to go with.
I will say, I think Shawcross is criminally underrated for a player he's played 262 Premier League games for Stoke in his career. Like he's never played. I mean, less than 20 games in a season.
I don't think he's actually that good.
But by the same token, centre-backs are fairly cutthroat and you replace them if you're a team like Stoke.
The best thing is we can follow the fortunes closely of both Glenn Murray and Ryan Shawcross this season.
I feel like I should have gone for someone else now. I've always gone too serious.
For some comedy. Yeah, I didn't take it too seriously.
Sorry, I feel like I've gone for
mine's a serious guess, just to be clear. I'm not joking. I want to let that be known.
No, we're foolish to suggest you won't. Will Hughes maybe at Watford? Not again, not really that underrated. Okay then,
Chalobah.
folks.
Great player.
That now wraps up our predictions. We will join you after this short break to talk about the weekend's action. We'll see you after this.
Hello, folks. Hopefully you are enjoying the podcast. Of course, we are available on iTunes. If you watch this on YouTube, the podcast go up on iTunes first. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a rating. There's a chance it'll be read out at the end of the show. And don't go anywhere.
Thanks, Jack. Now, let's talk then about the Premier League action. We'll kick things off, much like the Premier League did, folks, and talk about Arsenal 4, Leicester 3. That, my friends, is an advert for the Premier League. Jack.
Friday Night Lights.
Jack, it might end up being one of the games of the season.
Yeah, the worst thing is I missed the first 2 goals.
Well,
Did I. I missed the first 2 goals as well.
Brilliant. Football podcasts, opening of the season, they missed the first 2 goals.
I watched them later.
Oh, actually, I missed the second one because I went and made a cup of tea.
Exactly. So,
Who scored that? Okazaki, no one saw it, mate. Did it even happen? I saw the Lacazette header, though.
I mean, all I'm saying is I was sat there thinking, football starts in, I'll quickly nip to the toilet, got a little bit sidetracked on my phone, came back 6 minutes in, and there were 2 goals scored. And
But he did get his Sudoku done, listeners.
So football's back. So actually, it was Super Stickman Golf, but
it is back. But it wasn't easy for Arsenal. You think a home tie for them, opening day of the season, a lot of expectation. Didn't get into the Champions League last season. Lacazette scores after 2 minutes. They're absolutely loving it. And then all of a sudden, Vardy gets a second and a 2-1 down. And there's a little bit of panic. Without that Danny Welbeck goal, this could have been, a very different game. It was a very crucial time to score just before half time.
I was really impressed by Leicester, actually. It reminded me, I know we were kind of, we weren't sceptical, but we were kind of cautious in the preview shows over whether Shakespeare could sort of continue the team spirit and momentum that he obviously sort of revived in them last year. Yeah. And it was I know they didn't win the game, but it was a performance that was sort of evocative of their championship winning season, to be fair. It was really impressive how they kept coming back and then obviously went ahead. Vardy was very impressive, and I just thought in that scenario, particularly after Lacazette scored early, and it did sort of settle the nerves around the stadium for a minute or two, because it wasn't very long, would have been very difficult, it would have been very easy for Leicester to do what West Ham did at United, which we'll talk about later, which was kind of the opposite. They went the other way, and sort of the body language was bad. Leicester almost got better throughout the game. Yeah, really impressive.
Well, speaking of that, of course, Welbeck gets the goal, and then Jamie Vardy makes it 3-2. Arsenal again fall behind. Now, Jack, you've been in recent show listeners that have been listening for a while now will know that Jack's been a bit up and down on Leicester. When they were winning the league, he was always saying they were going to throw it away. Last season, you were unsure of them as well. You didn't really think much of them, and to be fair, they didn't play very well until Shakespeare came in. This year, Jack, how do you see Leicester going? Of course, Shakespeare plays this style that was so successful for them in that title-winning year, and I mean they have scored 3 away at the Emirates. They've not won the game, but they've done all right.
I mean, yeah, they were really impressive. I actually think a lot of their season, much like 2 years ago, hinges on Jamie Vardy. To end the season last season, he actually got 5 assists and 8 goals in the last 13 games of Leicester's season. He was very much, indicative of the fortunes of Leicester last season. He was a big force behind them, really kind of turning things around under Shakespeare. Yeah. And I kind of had this fear of, can he maintain it again? He had this really slow start last year, really looked like he was struggling. But, to contribute 13 goals in 13 games, that's pretty much unprecedented. If any player does that in the Premier League, we're singing their praises. And I feel like that somewhat went under the radar towards the tail end of last season, just because Leicester, they weren't really playing for a whole lot. So to see him do that, I thought was really impressive. I thought what was quite impressive as well was just Leicester. They looked really positive in the way they were playing. There's a risk that if you're a team like Leicester, who last season struggled, you kind of go to the Emirates and think, well, we're going to shut up shop. And it would have been very easy, actually, to score within, a minute and a half of the first game of the season just to get absolutely run rampant by Arsenal. But they stuck with it, obviously. The Okazaki quick reply was very, very useful for them.
Yeah, I will say on Leicester, and I think it's interesting when you look at the fixtures they've got coming up. They play Brighton at home. Now, they've lost the opening game. If for some reason they struggle against Brighton, who we would probably suspect after seeing that Leicester's display will sit a little bit more defensively and almost try and counter the counter that Leicester come up with, then Leicester are away at United and at home to Chelsea. Now, 4 games in, if Leicester find themselves without any points, they're going to struggle. But if they play the way they did against Arsenal, I can see them not only beating Brighton quite comfortably, giving Manchester United and Chelsea difficult games. But although it'll be 4 games in, there'll be a real tale of Leicester and how they've done over those 4 games. I think there's going to be. I think there's a very good chance they might have no points come the sort of 4th game in, which puts a bit of pressure on. We saw last year Ranieri didn't cope that well with it, and that'll give Shakespeare a slightly different complexion on his sort of managerial style. And if he has to change things, and because obviously Ranieri chose to change things, it didn't work.
Yeah.
If Shakespeare finds after 4 games that while they play quite exciting football, like they might draw sort of 2-2 with Brighton, and then maybe go to United and suffer the same fate West Ham did. Chelsea might have found a bit of form. All of a sudden they've brought signings in. It's the first game after the window shuts. Like there might be a bit of bother there. But I equally think Leicester will have a decent year.
I think you're right that the pressure on managers and the way that clubs act in relation to their managers now is so sort of fast-paced that this Brighton game almost looks like quite a big match, really, than it should be, because, as you say, after 4 games, you have 0 points, potentially, and the kind of perspective is shifted. A couple of things on Leicester before we talk about Arsenal. They look like there are a few very good individual performances. One was obviously Vardy, who, as Jack said, has carried on his really good form from last year. He's a championship-winning striker. He's a Premier League winning striker. He should be, we know what he can do, and it's good to see him do that. Second one quickly was just Harry Maguire, who was their sort of big defensive signing this summer. Obviously, they've signed Iheanacho, and that was where a lot of the sort of talk has gone when we were discussing Leicester. But Maguire was also pretty good. I know Arsenal did score 4, but he had a good game, and he was. He looked like the dominant.
Yeah, I was going to say, he looked like out of him and Morgan, he looked like the dominant defensive figure in that back four, I thought. Interesting, speaking of Iheanacho, it was his substitution for Matty James on 82, and all of a sudden Arsenal get 2 goals. And I've got a question. I don't want to, I quite like what Shakespeare did when he came in, that he talks about the game quite nicely as well. He seems quite level-headed, quite grounded for a Premier League manager. But the change, because obviously Leicester were playing that 5 across the middle with Vardy as kind of the outlet. They brought Iheanacho on. It's almost like they went for it. At 3-2 up, was it 3-2 up at that point? Yeah, so they're 3-2 up, looking pretty good, defending well, and he takes that unit in the middle of James, brings on Iheanacho, changes the complexion. Also, Arsenal get a lot more space. Wenger equally, of course, he took off Holding and brought Giroud on not long before that as well.
Credit for that.
Well, he blatantly saw that. I think that arguably is what made Shakespeare make the change. Talking about it tactically for a moment, Leicester were playing Jamie Vardy up top on his own and not having much of the ball. Every time it was played up to it, Arsenal have got pretty quick defenders. Back there, Monreal's no slouch. You've got Bellerins there as well. Kolasinac played really well, I thought. So there was no need for that extra defender back there. It did mean Arsenal ended the game with no centre-backs, which I thought was quite fascinating. But then, to sort of counteract that, Shakespeare thought, well, actually, let's put a little bit more pressure on that Arsenal back line. Brought Iheanacho on, but with that lack of body in the centre, and because Arsenal are playing this attacking way with the players they've got, players like Mesut Ozil, give him a little bit more space and you'll be punished. And it's Aaron Ramsey that gets the first goal, and of course Giroud makes it 4-3. Tactically, Jack, I think Wenger started the game and not well, frankly. Arsenal didn't start the game well. I know they got the goal straight away, but then the pattern of the game, they weren't really breaking Leicester down. And on that, Giroud comes on and gets the winner. How important do you think he'll be this season? Do you think he'll feature a lot? Should he feature a lot?
I think for Giroud, he's a very good kind of plan B. I do think for Arsenal, it was really weird the fact they persisted with the 3 centre-backs. Obviously, Holding came off for Giroud, and that was really the change of kind of form. Because the issue was for Arsenal was 3 centre-backs is okay if you're not planning on dominating the ball quite so much, but they were playing very possession kind of heavy play. Yeah. And it just felt like there was just a wasted man at the back at all times. So obviously, that was the motivation to bring Giroud on for Rob Holding, who actually I didn't think had that great a game, if I'm being hypercritical of him.
I mean, Leicester scored 3 goals, so
it's true.
It's probably fair enough.
But yeah, like Arsenal, they were dominating the play, 70% of possession across the match as a whole. They were having a lot of shots. Granted, Leicester did score 3 goals from 3 shots on target. But it just seemed to me like, I mean, you've got to credit Wenger, I guess, because the subs had the impact and the change in system clearly worked. But it just felt a little obvious sooner. I mean, I feel like a bit really cynical and like terrible actually complaining about Wenger because the decisions that he made won Arsenal this game. And actually, I think it's a shame really because it's Wenger almost in a way, because the stigma of last season, he perhaps won't get the credit he deserves for, the calls that he made in this game. Yeah,
on Giroud though, do you think he'll start with Lacazette in the future? Do you think that could become a partnership? Wenger's not had a partnership, I don't think, for a very long time. He's always kind of going with that 1 man, 2 wingers, just because of the way his squad's built, really. If you've got players like Walcott on your side and Sanchez, then there's not really a need to play more than 2 strikers. But with Giroud and Lacazette, he's got a bit of a sort of traditional big man, little man, and they've both got a goal in this game. Do you think at any point?
I think the issue for them is the fact that Arsenal have a lot of very talented wingers, and seeing as they seem quite persistent to play free at the back with wing backs potentially, I just feel like it's one of those situations where it's more and more likely that they'll play kind of a 5-2-3 with kind of two wider men, maybe Sanchez one side, then you have Welbeck, Walcott kind of the other side.
Even Ozil, you've seen Wenger play Ozil as sort of almost an auxiliary winger. He kind of plays as that creative midfielder, but drifts out wide all the time. The amount of times you see him pick it up on the wing and then play a fullback in, I feel like that happens a lot. We might see a situation where it's actually like one striker, Lacazette, Ozil, all around sort of together, and then, as you say, the back five. I don't know, there's lots of options.
I think a lot of it comes down to whether or not Arsenal want to play with two strikers, and I just don't think they will. Well, I want to say I don't think they will, but then the more I think about it, the more I think that actually sometimes that's how they're going to have to revert to play, particularly if they want to play with the full-backs. I guess the blessing for them is that in players like Welbeck and Walcott, you've got players who are very capable of playing out wide, but they're also very good strikers. They can play down the middle when they need to, so there's quite a lot of flexibility in the final third. I guess the issue for Giroud is he doesn't have that flexibility. He can't really change on the fly, where he plays. I don't say he's one-dimensional as a footballer, but you're not going to play him out on the wing, for example.
No.
The wide target man ain't that fashionable these days, unfortunately.
You could do that with Lacazette, of course, Kino. You could play Lacazette in a wide area, play Giroud through the middle, maybe. But does a lot of this maybe depend on the future of Alexis Sanchez? Of course, didn't play through injury or fitness or whatever it is for Arsenal. Do we think he'll stay, go? Do you think it all matters on him, really?
So with the system that Wenger seems to want to play with the three at the back, I think, as you say, it depends on Sanchez, because when Sanchez is fit, Ozil and Sanchez either side of Lacazette fits perfectly in a 3-4-3. So I can't see Giroud starting in that system. And if he tried to switch to a system to accommodate the two strikers, it would be a little bit more similar to maybe what Juventus have played in the past, with sort of three in the centre and the two wing backs, because you can't play either Sanchez or Ozil at wing back. So we maybe see one of them move into midfield. I just can't see how you'd accommodate those two players with two strikers as well. Yeah. So I think Giroud will be important, because in Lacazette's first season he'll want to rotate, but I don't think they'll play together. I don't think it's Wenger.
We might see a lot of Giroud in the Europa League. It might give him that option of, you'll play a lot of games but not necessarily in the league, and you'll come on in Premier League games so I can keep you for those games in Europe. I know we talked about that. Arsenal won't take it that seriously, but they've still got to play a team, right? And there's not that many strikers that I don't think will come through all of a sudden and start playing in the Arsenal first team in the Europa League. I don't suspect anyway. Interesting though. Arsenal could win, of course, off to winning ways. And I've got a challenge quite soon, haven't they? Do we know who they play next week? I really should have this up in front of me, boys.
I can get it for you.
Go on, Jack, get it for me.
They've got Stoke away, so Shawcross is going to be shutting them out. So they're going to have to bring on Giroud to change things up.
Arsenal-Stoke, so it's been a bit of a rivalry, so that actually should be quite a good one. We'll talk about our predictions for that game at the end of the show with Predictor, of course. Right then, let's go to another game, Jack, and we're going to talk about it early. It was the next game, in fact, in the Premier League season. Thanks, Kino. What a running order you've come up with here. It was Watford 3, Liverpool 3.
A lot of thought went into that.
Oh, dear, Jack. I mean, it's all just a big shame, isn't it?
I thought I missed football. Do
you not miss football anymore?
No, I decided I don't.
You're wondering. No, it wasn't ideal, was it? Watford, I mean, they've caused Liverpool problems in the past, and without Coutinho, Liverpool looked a little bit blunt. What do you think then? Where was the game? I was going to say won and lost, but actually, in reality, no one won or lost it. Akaka got an early goal, though, set Watford on their way. Mane with a nice finish. But that first half from Liverpool, there's a reason I don't necessarily think they'll get in the top four, and I dare say that has a small impact on it, although I do think Arsenal will probably get in there above them anyway. Where do you see the issues lying with Liverpool? It's it feels like not much has changed from last season, despite Salah's addition.
I was going to say, I feel like fundamentally the defence has been a problem for Liverpool, and actually for a lot of Klopp's sides, but particularly in his 3 years now? Klopp's
no,
has it been as many as that?
No, it's not. It's been a year and a half essentially.
His 100th game at the weekend.
It's just crazy. We had a very long Europa spell. Basically, he came in halfway through the season, got us to the Europa League final, then had a full year last year, and now
it's kind of his third season.
It's his third season as manager of Liverpool, I'll give you that. That's
kind of what I meant. But this has been a problem since before, Rodgers was in. Defensively, Liverpool, from crosses, from set pieces, they look naive. And the issue I've got kind of thing is that I love Klopp, but it feels like nothing's been done to try and remedy this defensive problem other than sign VVD.
He's bought a defender and he's looking to get a centre-back. I hate that. People go, what's he trying to do? Well, he's trying to sign a centre-back, which the club clearly cocked up completely, and brought in a left back, an actual proper left back.
But the thing is, like, the proper left back doesn't even then get picked ahead of Moreno unless you're saving him for the Champions League.
Unless you're saving him for the Champions League, or it's a fitness issue. I guess we'll see on Tuesday night, tonight, as this show probably comes out. No, I do agree.
It's just the same problems. Like, I feel like you could watch a show from like a year ago, and it would just be the same things in Liverpool. And I feel like some of that is systematic at this point. I feel like it's impossible not to, put some of it on the system. We've seen a number of different players involved in this system for Liverpool, and it's always been kind of the same problems.
Yeah, I guess the argument against that is Liverpool are 2 minutes away from getting a win.
An unconvincing win.
Yeah, admittedly an unconvincing win, but I think any side opening day of the season will take an unconvincing win to get the points on the board and just move on to the next one in the early part of the season. Credit to Watford. I mean, they've scored 3 goals and got a draw. Like, we shouldn't completely just say, oh, Liverpool have been awful, that's why Watford have won. Admittedly, I do feel as if 2 of the goals are scrappy, to say the least. The one where it sort of comes off Matip's face, and then Wijnaldum's lack of heading a football is an issue, apparently. And they get slightly fortunate with the final goal as well. But on balance, nobody watching that game is saying Liverpool deserve to win it. And that's credit to Watford, Kino.
Yeah, I think it was quite difficult to assess, really, because obviously there was a managerial debut for Watford with Marco Silva. I thought it was quite difficult.
He's quite small, really, Marco Silva.
He is.
I know Klopp's a big man, but he made
deceptively tall.
Yeah, I think he's like 6'4", but he made Silva look like a little boy. Oh.
He's quite boyish, isn't he, Silva?
Well, he's rugged, handsome. Yeah. I would say he's a very handsome man, Marco. So I mean, if you're watching Marco, then by all means.
I don't know. Come on the show.
Don't know whether you want to come and do your predictions, Marco. By all means. But no, sorry, Watford. We're talking about how good they were.
Yeah, I thought it was quite difficult to assess.
The strengths of Watford,
they played well.
More important.
They played well. I thought there were a few interesting debuts. I think not necessarily all positive, because I thought Chalobah we didn't see Will Hughes, and there was a lot of talk before the game about those 2 young English players in the middle that they'd signed, Will Hughes and Chalobah. And Chalobah played, and he was kind of middling. I thought he had a decent game. I thought, actually, without creating a huge amount, Liverpool's midfield 3 actually looked okay. I know you were kind of a little bit annoyed at Chan, Ben. But
can I very briefly talk about that? Emre Can is a wonderful footballer when he doesn't have to use his brain. Any point in which he has to do something quickly, it's brilliant. It looks great. He's you can tell on one level he's a very intelligent footballer. Until you give him 10 seconds or 5 seconds to think about it. Just for people watching this season, I want you to keep an eye on this. When he gets the ball in the centre of the pitch, he takes at least 2 touches more than he ever needs to, and it slows down Liverpool's play no end. He's got so many good things about him. He's got all the tools to be a great player. If he just speeds up his play a little bit, he'll become a different player entirely, and to that extent, be a much better player. And I know it infuriates Klopp. There was a clip in pre-season where Klopp shouts something like "it's effing too late" at him in a very aggressive manner, because Shan's movement of the ball is so slow, which you couldn't say for someone like Coutinho or Wijnaldum, even Henderson, who get the ball and tend to give it again straight away. And Shan is, in that respect, he's irritating. But I agree, they kind of did look good. I actually thought Chalobah for Watford looked decent. Liverpool's midfield busy, and he looked at home.
I thought, despite the kind of the fact that Liverpool, with the 3 in the midfield, sort of managed to overpower Chalobah and Doucouré, who were kind of the holding 2 for Watford. Yeah. They outnumbered them. Those 2 had decent games. It was quite difficult, as I was going to say, to really assess whether Watford looked that good under Silva, if you know what I mean, because I feel like they profited at times from Liverpool's failings rather than really systematically beating Liverpool on a tactical level. Yeah. The first goal from Akaka was decent, and the move which cleverly pulled back for Doucouré's goal, that was pretty good as well. So there were moments of play which were good. Obviously, they had possession. Liverpool dominated that department. So they didn't have much of the ball. So we'll see how they play when they're playing a slightly worse team at home. Yeah. But yeah, I'd be fairly positive as a Watford fan on that result.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. On Liverpool, Jack, attacking wise, I mean, Firmino, Salah and Mane all get a goal. We look all right going forward. It's not really the issue. Do you want to? I'll give you the option, Jack. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about Coutinho?
Coutinho, please.
Go on then, talk about Coutinho, because Barcelona have bid. We've rejected it. They've bid again. We've rejected it. The rumours are, Jack, £137 million. Pounds, that is, as well. I think that's 150 million euros.
Take it and run.
You're for it then?
Take it.
I think the issue is that if we'd had this entire situation and it had been left at the point where FSG put out the statement saying he's not for sale, that would have been closed chapter. And I think for a lot of Liverpool fans, they saw that and thought, oh, well, that's that side then. Obviously, within a few hours, the news breaks that Coutinho's handed in a transfer request. And as far as I'm concerned, that changes things quite dramatically. I'm very much in the mindset of holding on to a player who doesn't want to be at the club isn't beneficial for the player. It's not beneficial for the club. And ultimately, more often than not, it just sees the player's value actually reduce over time because they don't perform as well. They naturally, the teams who are interested, that perhaps it cools somewhat. And I think you only have to look at the impact that Payet had on West Ham's first half of the season last year as just an example of how disruptive having a player who doesn't want to be there can be, particularly a player who's so kind of key to your plans. I think the thing for Liverpool is you can't do a lot in terms of replacing Coutinho at this point. Obviously, the fact that he handed in the transfer request the day before the start of the season is another kind of kick in the gonads, I guess, although I guess the timing as a whole is unfortunate. With the way this
words you didn't expect in the first show, folks. Gonads. Tick it off.
Great word. But I just feel like the issue for Liverpool now is that, there's 2 and a bit weeks until the transfer window closes. It's going to be a very tall order to even reinvest that 100 and however million it will be. But the flip side, I feel like we showed against Watford, granted against Watford, that we aren't reliant on Coutinho and that actually we might have enough else around the pitch that it's not the make or break player of our season like he was for a little bit of last year. Because I think people forget that actually last year, Coutinho for matches just vanishes. Yeah. And Liverpool are able to cope in those games. And in some ways, you're better off not having the inconsistent player on the pitch and just knowing what your kind of squad is capable of.
You probably won't win as many games with that. That's Liverpool's catch-22.
To sort of wrap up the Coutinho thing, I think that Jack's bang on that I don't think Liverpool would replace him if he does go this window. I think the only
I don't think you can replace him. I don't think there's many players like him.
Fair enough. I don't think they'll make like a sort of equivalent attacking signing before the end of the window. I think the only transfer it can maybe speed up.
They'd have to bring someone in, though. They'd have to bring someone in that mould. Lallana's out for 4 months. Liverpool are in no position to just cope with what they got in the centre of midfield with Milner, Henderson, Shannon, Wijnaldum and Grujic. Where's your creative outlet in that? You've got a lot of good midfielders. You've not got a lot of creativity. You can't just leave it down to Firmino, Mane, Salah. It's not enough.
I think the other issue is if other teams know you've got the money, you tend to get mugged off. I mean, you only have to look at Spurs the year where they sold Bale and the amount of money they had to spend on the likes of Eriksen.
They got on for a snip. They got Eriksen for like 15 million. But the issue for me is you got a player that doesn't want to be there, and Barcelona offer 137 million pounds. Like if he doesn't want to be there, and I'm sure Barcelona, Steven Gerrard said, it's now or never. So Coutinho's gone, well, I'll hand in a transfer request then, because I'd quite like to go. I want to go now. I don't want to miss the boat. I don't want to miss the Barcelona boat. So
none of us want to miss that boat.
Well, no, but he's kind of forced his arm. And to get 100, that figure, I know the Neymar transfer is throwing everything out of all sort of realms of reality, but 137 million pounds for Coutinho. Like he's a very good footballer, but is 100. I mean, I keep saying the numbers because it's just mind-boggling. That's an extraordinary amount of money for Philippe Coutinho. It'd be an extraordinary amount of money for anybody in the Premier League. You could pick your player, pick Aguero. 137 million. It's still a ridiculous amount of money. So if Barcelona are prepared to offer that, I mean, I said 100 million was daft. You had another 37 on top of that. And all of a sudden, Liverpool are left with Barcelona giving sort of 70% of their money from Neymar to Liverpool. I think that gives you a bit of spending power in the market. I don't think it's that bad. And I think there's not many Liverpool fans that would kind of say no. I feel it's difficult. I think the problem is no one trusts Liverpool's transfer committee. Right, we'll do one. I think we'll cover one more game in detail, and we'll go through every other game a little bit quicker. How can we not? Let's go to the home of the champions. Chelsea 2, Burnley 3. It is kicked off big time. Conte must be very, very angry, Kino. And you were a fan of Chelsea last year. You're not as big a fan this season.
I was scared for those players going in at half time.
I had an image. Well, go on. Do you want to read my image?
Yeah. Ben had an image that Conte would be waiting for the Chelsea players stark naked, just standing in the changing room, waiting to rant at them. And I was worried for those players going in, particularly Gary Cahill, that made a stupid challenge, which was a red card. really early on.
Are we all agreed that was a red card, Jack? I assume you've seen it as well. He kind of foot up a bit in it.
I just don't think you can get away with doing
Yeah,
that.
I think that's the issue. Is it's one of those ones where you can't. Players know that you can't do that kind of tackle now, whether you like it or not.
That's it, isn't it? That's spot on.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell on the red card. It sounds a little bit Sky Sports cliche, but maybe 10 years ago, that probably doesn't get a red card. It's probably a yellow, but now it is. But, regardless of that, Chelsea was so pedestrian in the first half, and it makes you sort of question, particularly with other performances around the league. I think most notably Matic at Man United, the most high-profile player that they let go this year. It just makes you think, with that slow start as well, I think panic stations will be on at Chelsea, and it'll be interesting to see what changes they try and make in terms of transfers between now and the end of the window, because we mentioned Liverpool and whether they might try and do a bit of quick business if Coutinho does go. Chelsea, I think, is absolutely vital, and I've just predicted them to not get into the top four based on what they have right now. If they use the money they have and try and make some big signings, who knows what might happen? But that team on Saturday to concede 3 goals at Burnley at home with the context of last year was incredibly surprising. And there wasn't really any kind of particular moment, or there wasn't a particular kind of point in the game where it was clear that Chelsea were doing something wrong. So it wasn't as though Dyche had come and did a tactical masterclass on Chelsea and systematically sort of worked out Conte's formation. They just didn't look committed enough, which was really odd for a Conte team, I think.
Yeah, there's I mean, the names brushed around sort of this week have been Van Dijk, who obviously, ironically, Liverpool are after, Oxlade-Chamberlain as well. I just want to read a little quote from our friend Mick, Jack, who's I saw my go-to Chelsea fan.
He's a passionate Chelsea fan. Actually, Mick usually goes against the grain of the majority of Chelsea fans. I feel like he is the most...
He's quite pessimistic, I think, Mick, sometimes. But he said, we're going to Spurs next week with one recognised central midfielder, no captain, no Hazard against the best 11 in the league. # pray for CFC. He's not happy about it. Makes you watching Chelsea a long time. He's very old, this Mick. And he's not very contented. As you say, they've got to make moves, but there's not long, 16, 17 days to go? They need to do something now. It's like it's getting to the point where teams are going to start charging a premium because they know Chelsea have to get the player. Not good.
I felt as though on the game, Burnley, they deserve a huge amount of credit for executing almost the classic Sean Dyche performance. It was like it was what exactly.
But in a good way, though.
Oh yeah. There are bad ways that you could interpret that, but this was. The way that you imagine Burnley in their best form under Sean Dyche to be, they were that. Yeah. Every delivery into the box was dangerous. Sam Vokes was obviously scored 2, looked really lively at all times. He scored a good header for the 1 goal, and they were very, very well drilled at the back. It was just classic Burnley, exactly what you expect from a Dyche team. And they almost didn't have to do much more than that. You'd expect going to a team like Chelsea, you need to have a game, like a 1-in-a-season performance as Burnley to get that result. I felt like they didn't even have to do that. I felt like they just stuck to their game plan and it worked out to the tune of 3 goals. Yeah,
Kante looks so good in Chelsea teams that win, or 4 teams that win. And when he doesn't, he just doesn't look like that good of a footballer. I know they've had 10 men, it's difficult for him, and then Fabregas went off and it became even more difficult. But I just... we've never... Again, much like there's certain situations where you don't see managers in those situations, but without Kante, I just feel like... Sorry, not without Kante, but with Chelsea not playing well, Kante's job of winning the ball back and setting up attacks, like it's almost like that's all he's doing. It gets to the point.
I think the presence of Matic last year almost distorted our kind of perspective of Kante, because as I was saying to you at the weekend while we watched the United game, Matic, I mean, because he was on his own without Kante in the midfield on Sunday, it put into perspective just how good he is at doing a very similar job. Let's quickly
throw to that game then. With Matic in the centre, with Matic in the centre, all of a sudden, he's the sort of player that we saw it at Chelsea, but then, as you say, with Kante, he was kind of overshadowed. He makes every player play better, Matic. He's that sort of player in the middle.
Exactly. And you combine both those players in one midfield, and that was, the core of the title-winning team. It was what was kind of quite obvious in the United game, watching Matic play, was in a slightly different mould to Kante. He almost doesn't get enough credit for how technically excellent he is.
Yeah.
I think because of his size and the way that he can break up play, I think it would be quite easy to just sort of shoehorn him into the sort of destroyer mould. But there were a few moments in the game, and as we saw like last year with that goal in the cup final, what was it against Spurs in the semi? I can't remember, but in the FA Cup at Wembley, that goal from 25 yards out.
I think it was the final.
Yeah, he's a fantastic footballer, and he doesn't get enough credit for that, I think, at times. This year he will, because he ran that game and he made every player, as you said, Mkhitaryan, Pogba, Lukaku, even allowing Rashford to venture a lot more on the left because they knew that he could come across and cut things out. He just freed everyone up, and it was ominous.
Before your comments come in, Arsenal won it. It was in the semi-final. I'm very sorry, Arsenal fans. My apologies.
Yeah.
Just on United quickly, Jack, kind of with Matic as well, is the sale of Matic to Manchester United what makes them a contender this season?
The Matic one as a whole is kind of curious. I'm sure at the start of the season, Conte... I mean, is it a Conte sale? I guess that's the big question that Chelsea fans will be desperate to know.
Apparently it's not. Apparently it's a board decision, not a... I mean, is it probably to do with his age? He didn't sign that long ago, did he, Matic? Like, Mourinho bought him in, 3 years ago, was it?
Yeah.
When they won the league again? So he's what now? He's 29. I mean, 40 million for a 29-year-old. All of a sudden, I'm looking at that going, I kind of understand it. It's just still... I mean, they're going to get a good year out of him this year. But no, I mean, can you think of any other transfers that have been maybe this catastrophic? Maybe Van Persie to United.
Kante to Chelsea.
I mean, it didn't really affect Leicester. I mean, it didn't affect Leicester too much.
Title-winning Leicester finishing near the relegation zone.
It's an anomaly season. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. I can't think of too many others where it's been that impactful.
I mean, are we being really overreactionary here based on the fact United won so comfortably and Chelsea have lost at home with 9 men to Burnley?
I just think Manchester United look incredibly comfortable, and he's fit straight into that. But like, they played West Ham. I actually think West Ham will have a really good year. So the fact we've seen United essentially destroy them, I think speaks volumes. And then, after what I've read out from Mick, Chelsea have got one recognised central midfielder going into a game against Spurs. Panic stations at the bridge at the moment. But you think they'll win the league, so let's stay positive, right?
Exactly, team positivity.
Team positivity. Right, let's just run through a couple of other fixtures. We'll just sort of have little comments on them. So we mentioned it earlier, but Palace got absolutely destroyed by Huddersfield. What a start for Huddersfield. If you're a Huddersfield fan, I'm so sorry we didn't talk about you more. I'm sure if you carry this on, we will be hard to avoid you. I watched that game
in full. If that's any kind of compliment to Huddersfield fans, I looked to the 3 o'clock kickoffs.
They must be so pleased, Jack, that you took time out of your busy schedule to watch the game in full.
We've not talked about you on the show, but Jack's eyes have had a good time, and I think that's what really matters.
Mooney really impressed me. Impressed me.
He could be one of the dark horses, but no, I love that when a newly promoted side beat a sort of recognised side of the Premier League. Sorry, Palace fans, but I do think I love that sort of thing. I mean, who saw it coming, folks? Remember the name, Wayne Rooney. He's got a goal for Everton, a 1-0 win. Not massively convincing from Everton, a 1-0 win over Stoke, I don't think. But, again, opening day, you'll take it. How many do you think Rooney will get? Should we have a little mini prediction, Jack?
9.
Kino?
Who? Sorry?
Rooney, how many goals?
Double figures.
Can I just say, wouldn't it be fantastic if it's just one?
Could be 19, could be 11.
This could be his only goal. I'm going to go 17 goals for Rooney this season.
Oh, my goodness.
There you are.
Right.
Enjoy that. He could be the surprise call-up.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, he could be. The way it's going right now, he could be the surprise call-up. But we just see what people say about that one, actually. Southampton, Swansea, 0-0. That's partly why I'm worried about Southampton. I think if Southampton aren't beating Swansea at home on the opening day...
I mean, Swansea didn't have a shot on target all game.
I know, but Southampton still didn't win. A bit concerning. Hashtag WBA. I've never seen it so happy.
Let me get on this.
Get on it. They won, which is nice. But what I'm seeing at the moment, there's a few rumours, and I've got to say, get up hashtag WBA, because the announcement is that Gareth Barry may well be making his way to West Brom. And I'll tell you now, folks, hashtag WBA is going crazy for it. First of all, typical Pulis signing that. Gareth Barry, hashtag WBA. Have you got any that you can read out immediately?
I mean, Pulis has signed a new contract this week as well. We should not mention that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're delighted about that, the West Bromwich faithful.
Let me see if I can find reaction to the Pulis contract. I'd go.
There's another one. This is one of the 5 Megsons said we should be excited about. FFS, hashtag WBA, hashtag WBA, and hashtag Dad's Army, which is a fantastic hashtag for signing Gareth Barry.
Dad's Army.
Have you got any more? Come on, the hashtag WBA. We all need to be on this.
I mean, someone tweeted us a tweet that was about West Brom. Like a West Bromwich Albion fan did a hashtag WBA, and someone was just like, For the Fun should see this.
Oh, well, I like that. I don't want West Brom fans to be that aware of it, though. I want it to just under the radar. Gareth Barry is a decent player, but he's 36 years of age. I thought we were trying to bring down the average age of the squad. Hashtag WBA. Hashtag bullshit.
Because Soccer Saturday, for instance, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, once you become aware of the meme, it's not quite as funny anymore. So we've got to keep it, We don't want to you don't really want to make them aware of what's happening.
Jack on Twitter, every single year we say the same thing. Hashtag WBA.
What do they say? What did they say, though?
I've got a rare positive hashtag WBA.
No, it can't. It must be a mistake.
This is from a man from the outside, it appears. He appears to be a Southampton fan. Hashtag WBA have had Chinese investment and are doing it the right way and impressively for me. Build from the inside, not the outside.
Well, you know what that's in response to? You might want to touch upon this. Southampton today announced new owners of the football club.
Indeed. Well, now, I've got to say on that, I don't think the best move for new owners is to sell the best player. So I don't know if Van Dijk will move because of that sort of acquisition.
Give him a new contract.
Of course, if you've got West Brom fans as friends, do reference us in the tweet. Though I want to see some of the best hashtag WBAs throughout the season. It is something I'm enjoying very, very much. Right, quickly though, rest of the Premier League fixtures. It was Brighton 2-0 defeat to City. Aguero with a goal.
I thought
looked pretty good, and no goal as well. It's a bit of a shame.
I thought. Sort of comparing maybe the two favourites for the title, or at least the two Manchester clubs, the City game was almost just as good as United's for me. It didn't quite have the sort of kind of exciting, glamorous moments, for instance, like the Pogba goal. They didn't quite have those moments, but it was a very controlled victory.
78% possession.
Yeah, it was just while they only scored two, they controlled the game throughout, and it was that's the exact kind of result that maybe last year they might have gone and struggled. But
there'll be people in Spain going, how did people slug off Barcelona under Guardiola when Pep's got the same system? It's so obviously a Pep thing as well, because Pep's obviously gone there and they're having 78% possession in a football match, opening day of the season. Like, the team's supposed to take a little time to gel. I mean, that's outrageous. And then finally, Newcastle were defeated by Spurs. What is John Joe Shelby doing?
It wasn't good, was it?
ITV are reporting that ITV have reported he's been sent to a psychiatrist today.
I mean,
to curb anger issues.
The thing is, though, right? It is like it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that he would do that. Right? That's the bit that I don't get. It's Andrew Mariner, I think it is. Is stood about 5 yards away from it.
He looks visibly annoyed as well when he sees it. He's like, well, now you know what I've got to do with you now.
He does. I can't imagine any referee going into games thinking I want to send as many players off as possible. I know it gets them on the telly, but really they want to have a nice game. The fact Shelby does it, and what is more strange, he does it to Dele Alli. I don't know why I'm more surprised by that, but England teammate, you would assume.
The interesting thing was that they were trying to wind up Dele Alli. Like, they were really trying to get him going, because obviously he's a player who himself had some anger issues.
He did quite well to stay cool after that challenge.
Yeah, and he scored as well. Didn't really affect him too much, did it? The whole wind-up thing. Just a bizarre decision. It must infuriate Newcastle fans. I assume we'll get a 3-match ban for that, but when I see that kind of intent, it's not like the worst stamp ever. When I see that, I think that should be more games as well. I hate seeing that. Like, he's the captain. He's the captain of Newcastle on the opening day, back in the Premier League. Huge game for the club as well. Benitez must be... If he had more hair, he'd be pulling it out, I tell you. And that kind of wraps up the Premier League. Any final notes on the Premier League before we have a little break?
No, I think on Benitez, it just must be immensely frustrating to be in his position right now. Because he clearly wants to sign players, doesn't he?
You're absolutely right. Still time. I mean, we might do a sort of transfer roundup towards the end of the window. Just very quickly before we move on and talk about our predictions for the upcoming weekend with Predictor, Cristiano Ronaldo in the Super Cup has done an amazing thing, Jack. If no one's seen this, by the way, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that have seen it. Let me set the scene. Barcelona score a penalty, Messi gets it. Adds one to his goal tally. Cristiano is not. He's very unhappy about that. Messi makes it 1-1. Ronaldo gets the ball, runs down the pitch, scores one of his best goals I've seen him score for a while, actually. An absolute beauty. Bends it with power into the top corner, past the Stegen, takes off his shirt off, reveals what can only be described as a Dr. Benji-esque physique. And, believe me, very, very similar. And he's giving it all. It's that scene where all of the players are trying to like hug him and say how great he is. And Ronaldo's like, no, get out of the way. There's cameras over there. And I very often do that actually at swimming pools and the like. Carries on, another 5 minutes go by. Ronaldo kind of dives, doesn't really dive. And it's one of those where it's not a dive, but it's not already a foul. It's just a bit of a collision. Referee's having none of it though. Comes over, books him. Ronaldo gives him a little push. 5-match ban. Well done, Cristiano. Great start to the season. Real Madrid did end up winning that 3-1, and Asensio scored an absolute ding-donger. It was, if you've not seen I'm also actually, if you've not seen the Ronaldo or the Asensio goal, check them both out because they are stunners. Is that going to be one of our highlights of the season, folks, that Ronaldo incident?
I think the funny thing was his celebration was he was trying to do what Messi did with his celebration in his shirt, and it just wasn't as good.
No. I can't imagine Messi being the type of guy though to take off his shirt and reveal his abdomen.
Well, Messi did it with like an undershirt on, but he did do that thing where he held up his like own shirt, to the crowd and kind of posed with it. And that's what Ronaldo was trying to parody.
There is a difference, though.
I can only think that Ronaldo was practicing all summer. In the mirror every morning, he'd get up and hold a shirt and like rehearse it all.
You say all summer. I predict every day of his life he practices that exact scene right there. I can imagine he makes his son do it as well. So they sort of do it together. Let's move on. Right, we'll be with you for our predictions for the upcoming fixtures after this short break. As Jack mentioned earlier, folks, we are on iTunes first each week, but we're also on YouTube. And if you'd like to see us do alternative content within the four of us, let us know in the comment section. What would you like us to do, aside from football opinions, of course? Right then, folks, I'm very excited to announce that we are teaming up with Predictor. Now, Predictor are working with lots of Football Manager YouTubers and the Football Manager community in general. And as me and Jack have got a little bit of sway within that community, wouldn't you say? Even now, I reckon.
A little.
So that sounded very, very confident. We have teamed up with them then, and we're going to be doing our predictions, and you can get involved as well. The pinned tweet on our Twitter, so if you're listening on iTunes, get over there and check it out. And of course, top line of the description this week, you can get involved as well and predict along with us. Now, the Predictor way it works is that you predict all of the results for the team. There's prizes on offer as well. You go through every single Premier League fixture and see how many points you can gather. For the first 2 months as well, for this season, it is free to take part. Hence, we're talking about it right now. Weekly winners can get a Nike football, a retro football shirt. There's another winner for August and September. You can get a full Premier League shirt. Aston Villa not available, Kino, so you will have to go for a different side. Yeah,
sorry about that, mate.
Premier League.
I will not be taking part.
There'll be a retro one.
He will be taking part, listeners, believe me.
I have already signed up.
Yeah, it's very quick, very simple to sign up. And if you use the link as well, it'll go straight through and you'll be put straight into the Football Manager Community League. You can also win if you're the league leader after August and September. We've just spoken about the man. You can get a signed Cristiano Ronaldo Real Madrid shirt. Folks, can I get a new?
Ooh.
Yeah, lovely. The
same one that he ripped off last night.
That was wonderful.
It had a little bit of a bingo hall vibe to it, I'll be honest.
I enjoyed it, yeah. So, as I say, August and September, free to play. After that, I think you can sign up for a little bit of cash and win some cash in return as well. And if you're part of our league, there's a 50% reduction for the players that have signed up through our link. So, by all means, get involved. Now then, folks, let's go through some of the games coming up and talk about our predictions. We'll kick things off. It's a home game for Swansea, though, against Manchester United. Jack, how do you see this one going?
5-0.
To who? Swansea? They've had a good result, United.
Yeah, you didn't say 0-5. You said 5.
I just think Sir Gerdson's going to be on fire. No, in all seriousness, I think United are going to win this comfortably. I think Swansea's defensive... they didn't get a shot on target against Southampton, so how are they going to do it against United, even at home?
So what's your score? Are you actually going 5-0?
Yeah, genuinely, I think they could be in trouble.
That is bold. Kino, Swansea United?
Swansea actually have quite a decent record against Man United at home. They lost the last game, I think, in
decent
last
form.
Season. Sorry, you've just totally thrown me there, Jack. Yeah.
Sorry, just a little quip there.
I feel like that was a competitive edge from Jack there, just trying to throw Keno off his prediction.
But I think they've won 3 of the last 4 against United at the Liberty, the Swansea City Stadium. What's it called now? Is it still the Liberty Stadium?
I think it's still the Liberty. I hate when football stadiums change names for sponsors.
Yeah, so they have actually a decent record at home against United. So, despite that, though, I think it'll be a slightly narrower victory for Man United than they had at the weekend, maybe a 2-0 or 2-1.
All right, fair enough. I think it'll be stunning if it happens. I think Swansea in a 2-1. Gylfi Sigurdsson penalty to wrap it up. I'm gonna go against the Tider. I'm gonna go Swansea 2-1. In fact, I'm gonna do it on the website right now and put it in there. Probably won't use it as my banker. We'll talk about that at the end, but I'll go with that for now. Let's look. What game should we go for now? Let's go for Stoke versus Arsenal. Great opening weekend fixture for Arsenal. Great result anyway. Stoke though, first time game of the season. Bit of pressure already for Mark Hughes. Jack, we'll start with you again. Arsenal Stoke
0-0.
Stunner. What a game it'll be. Keno?
0-0. No.
Shawcross clean sheet.
Can Arsenal do it on a wet Saturday night in August at Stoke?
Tentative.
It probably will be wet as well.
I'm so underwhelmed by Stoke and the whole sort of ethos around the club at the moment. And with Arsenal coming off that exciting win, I can't see anything other than an Arsenal victory. I know it's quite dull to sort of just go with the favourite, but 2-0 to Arsenal. I think
2-0
Stoke
Arsenal.
will look short.
I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal. I think Arsenal will start the season really well. I can see a little bit of a run happening. Right, arguably the biggest game of the weekend, folks. It's Spurs-Chelsea. And, well, Jack, I'm going to say, Jack, after what we heard at the start of the show, with your Premier League predictions, how do you predict this result going?
Spurs 3-0.
Fancy. So what are you expecting?
I think that
Where are they winning the title from, Jack?
Chelsea are going to go on the
title
craziest run in September onwards.
Okay. September onwards.
He's mad, isn't he?
That's amazing. Keno, are you going with a 3-0?
I feel like if I cover both bases, then like if one of them's right, then it's okay.
I'm going to sound like an idiot agreeing with Jack after that, but I didn't predict Chelsea to win the title. I think Spurs will win this comfortably. I think.
At Wembley, of course.
I forgot about that. That's exciting, isn't it? I still think that they will have, pending any late injury concerns or anything like that, if their full squad is fit, they will win comfortably 2-1, 2-0.
I'm going to go 2-2. Last time these two teams played at Wembley didn't go very well for Tottenham, as you might remember.
No, that's true.
So I'm going to go 2-2 with that one. Score draw. Although I think Chelsea have got a lot of pressure on them already. Let's go to the newly promoted sides, Huddersfield and Newcastle. Huddersfield started the season very well. Newcastle less so much, now without their captain John Joe Shelby, as we just talked about. How do we see it going, Jack?
4-1 Huddersfield.
Wow, that would be great for Huddersfield. They'd probably go top of the table with that, unless United absolutely dominate Swansea.
Or win 5-0 like predicted.
This is a really interesting game because it's almost like considering that Huddersfield qualified through the playoffs and fell off a lot towards the end of last year, and obviously Newcastle won the league. It's a really quite interesting sort of comparison to see how both teams have sort of prepared for the Premier League. I'm quite excited by this game, actually. I think it's a good one that it's on Sunday and a really nice sort of prequel to Spurs and Chelsea at Wembley.
Can you predict it for me?
I think Huddersfield will win 1-0.
Okay, I've put 2-0 in. I'm going with my submit on that one as well. And Manchester City, finally, well, this will be the last one we'll do. City Everton on the Monday. So this is going to be, again, quite a fascinating game. Of course, Pep's team dominated Brighton. Everton, though, slightly different kettle of fish. And Wayne Rooney against the Manchester club, that while not playing for United, will be...
Had issues at home last year as well, City, breaking good teams down. So
yeah, so
but not today, because they're going to win 2-1.
Thanks, Jack. We're going in for 2-1. Another Rooney goal?
No. John Stone own goal.
2-1, I quite like the sound of that.
I quite like the sound of a Rooney goal at the Etihad on his return.
Maybe the first goal silenced them, and then he'll just sort of...
I could maybe see City sort of spluttering slightly here and picking up a point. I think it maybe be a 1-1 or a 2-2.
Right, interesting.
There will be goals.
I'm gonna go 2-1 City. I think City just got the edge.
Yeah, I think it'll be narrow. I could quite easily have said that, I think.
Of course, though, folks, you can predict all 10 fixtures. Again, use the links available to you and get involved. Also, I should mention, you can use your banker. So for the one prediction you think you'll definitely get right, you'll get double the points gathered from that game.
Which game are West Ham playing, Jack, at the weekend? Or they are against
Southampton? Away at Southampton.
I played my banker in the Tottenham v Chelsea game at 3-0.
Did you? You're 100% sure on that one, eh? Yeah, interesting. Of course, Burnley, West Brom, Liverpool, Crystal Palace. We've got Bournemouth, Watford, Leicester, Brighton in there as well as you mentioned there, Southampton and West Ham. So do get involved, challenge us, not only in fantasy football, take on Jack. Please, someone take on Jack, for heaven's sake. And take us on with the Predictor app as well and get involved as again.
Who's at the bottom of the fantasy league, Jack?
Have you got it, Jack?
I do. I'm sorry to Lorenzo Rossi.
Oh, Lorenzo.
How many points has he got?
12.
I got that with one player.
My goodness.
Jesus. Who did you pick? Have we got his team up?
I have. We got Courtois in goal, back four of Alonso and Mbemba, Morgan and Holding. They got 0 points between them, that back four. 1 point for Courtois. You had Sanchez, Sané and Herrera. Well, between them they got 1 point. And then up top we've got Kane, who was captain, so he got 2 points. Can we get an ooh for the...
Ooh.
And then
big score.
Dwight Gale and Lacazette. And then on his bench...
Lacazette.
Lacazette got 6 points, so he's looking around the rest of the dressing room going, boys, I got half the points this week. What's happened? I will also say, shout out to his bench. They didn't get any points at all.
Oh, dear.
So it's not. I'm sorry, Lorenzo. If you're watching,
I find that hard to believe that you've made the team, you've gone to the effort to get your fantasy team ready for the new season. It's not like it's just sort of left players in from last year. We're going to call out guys at the top and the bottom of the league, so that motivates you to get going. We've got almost 800 people in the league, so that's pretty good. 9
of his 14 players didn't score points or ended up on negative points.
Heavens above. Right then, boys and girls,
let's hope our predictions aren't like
that is going to wrap things up, though. ForTheFansShow@gmail.com. Anything you want to message us about, whether you've got any opinions on the show or any little stories you've maybe seen from your weekend's football, do let us know. We'll read out some of the best ones, probably the funniest ones on the show. Most entertaining is what I'm getting at, folks. Of course, keep an eye on hashtag WBA. And it leaves us then to say goodbye to Jack. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And Keno, pleasure as always.
See ya.
Proudy is still travelling around Europe. He's
on his way back.
Is he coming back now?
Yeah.
Well, with any luck, he won't quite make it for next week's show.
I can smell him.
That's a little weird.
We're in love with care from us at For The Fans. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.